Sometimes there are health challenges that are being experienced, could be by the parents, in-laws, by other extended family members, and those things can be a stress on a marriage relationship.
One of the neat things that my brother and his wife, who was a daughter-in-law, obviously, what they did for my parents in their aging years. In our culture, it's not necessarily the given that parents will move in with parents.
In fact, his parents had very clearly stated that they did not want to move in with any of their children, that they felt like that would be an imposition and they didn't want to do it.
However, what Jim and Charlotte, and we love Charlotte so much.
We call her Saint Charlotte.
Saint Charlotte, because she was such a sweet spirit about this, that when my dad's health failed and he lost vision in one eye, could no longer drive well other than across the street or to the grocery in a small town, which was nice. Being in Singapore, you would not want him driving on your streets. They finally decided to move near one of the children, and Jim and Charlotte seemed to be the best choice.
They lived in a smaller town where he would have easier access to still being able to drive a little bit, have a little freedom. They found a house, just 2 or 3 blocks from their own, that was actually perfectly set up for an older couple. It had ramps into the house. Ed's mother had rheumatoid arthritis, and we feared that she might be in a wheelchair one day. He used a walker at that time. And this house was just perfectly set up for them. And I told him that, I said, why don't you come live here? Ed's dad said, you know, if we ever move, he said, I don't ever want to own and be responsible for another piece of property. I just don't want to have to worry about taking care of things. So Ed's brother thought about it for a little bit, and he said, well, would you consider renting that house? And I said, well, maybe. He said, well, what if I bought the house and I were your landlord and you moved into it? So that's what they did.
That may not fit in your context and situation, but the idea is we got creative as a family and we ministered, we helped my parents in their aging needs. My
sister-in-law went over on a regular basis. She went over, she would sometimes clean for them. She would, whenever she cooked, she made extra meals and froze them and labeled them with what they were so that it was very easy for them to just pull something out and put it in the microwave. They didn't have to cook. She went over when they had a lot of medicines to take, and she helped them lay out their medicines for the week, made sure they had refills when prescriptions needed refilling. She just, as a daughter-in-law doing that for her in-laws, it was just an amazing thing to watch.
Now, you may not have such an ideal situation, and it may be difficult for your husband or for you as the wife. So whichever direction this goes, with whose in-laws this may be, understand your spouse's feelings and validate them. Create as best you can a plan to collaborate and cope with the situation.
If you need help from other family members, request that. Let people know. Speak up and say to your brother or sister or someone else, we could use some help with this. We need support.
Find support.